Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's well. Today is the 15th, and that means that it's the last day to subscribe to the Watercolor Card Club for this month's session. And it's a really important session because it's about values. And so today I'm going to show you how I do a little value study before I get ready to paint a larger picture. So this is just going to be a very kind of quick lesson. I'm not going to be talking too much today. I will tell you what some of my supplies are. So I've got just a sketch pad and a number 2 pencil, and I have an assortment of watercolor brushes and a limited palette. So I'm going to start off with just some brown and some blue paint, and that looks like this. Okay, and by using a warm and cool tone, I can adjust the grays that I make with just those 2 colors. And I have in front of me just a bouquet of some flowers, and let's see, I want a little piece of let me see if I can find a little postcard here. I know I've got one handy. Here we go. So if you have a little square that has already been cut to size, you can use that to just create an area. And oftentimes what I will do is I will make 2 of these little rectangles, and in the first one I will paint in just black and white monochromatically, and then in the second one I'll do a full color. I'm going to go kind of fast today. I just want to clear my area a little bit here so I can see better. Okay, and this is going to be a kind of a very loose, wet technique. And what I want to do with my sketch is to simply place where the main elements will be. Okay, I'm not trying to shade, I'm not looking for any kind of detail, I'm just looking for very basic shapes and their arrangement on the page. And I'm going to zoom you in because I know this is very small and you can't see clearly. So let's get that. And this paper that I'm using is not watercolor paper, but it's a paper that will accept a light wash. And that's all I want at this stage. And I'm just checking my settings, making sure that you can see me. The paper that I'm using is not. That looks good, and I see Ginger and Deb. Hey Deb. All right, so I'm mixing up a neutral gray. So just using that blue and that brown together to make a very light wash, and I'm just going to use a middle tone to kind of indicate where my medium to dark areas are, and then I can refine it once I get this started. And in the class, I will go into this in much more detail, but just to give you an idea of what it's all about, I'm just going to go very quickly here today because I want to move to a larger painting. Alright, so there's a simple middle tone. Then I can start going into some of these flower shapes and indicate some of the texture there. Okay, so there's the basic design. I'm going to go back into my mixture now, and I'm going to make a stronger mixture, so more paint, less water, to get a darker color. And then I can start to get my darks established. Alright, so there it is, just as simple as that, nothing fancy. And this will provide me with a roadmap to follow when I get into my color work. I'm going back into my mixture, and this time I'm making a very, very dark mixture. And this I'm going to use for my accents. And I'm just going to use this very sparingly. And that's all I'm going to do. Alright, so then, now that I've got that established, zoom you out a little bit, and I'm going to sketch the design again. So there it is. And I'm working from life, okay? I'm not working from a photograph, and I strongly recommend that you set a still life up. You can go into the refrigerator, get some vegetables or some fruit. If you have some flowers, just use what you have to work from and set it up. And I do talk about the setup in another video. But this time I've got my limited palette, and here it is, yellow, red, and blue. I'm going to begin with a very pale, sort of a warm, peachy kind of a color, and start splashing that around. Now as we get into the flowers down below here, they become a little less yellow and more pink. There we go. When you subscribe to the Watercolor Card Club, you also get photo reference and a copy, a photocopy, not a physical copy, but a reference of the painting that I painted as well, so that you have something to work from. I'm going to add that background, just keeping it kind of neutral. Okay, so there's my first wash. You can straighten this up a little bit. And now I'm going to go back in, this time with a little bit darker tone. I can begin to develop some of these darker areas. Get some green in there. And I'm just letting the color move, keeping it loose. And then finally I can just indicate the texture of the petals, get the centers of the flowers. And you can see this is very wet. But what I'm hoping to achieve in this sketch is to see what my color balance will be. So I can begin to see the colors of the different flowers or the subject, whatever that may be. Where's my red, yellow, and blue tones? Are they equally balanced? I think I could use a little something over here. Okay, so there are, within just a couple of minutes, okay, I'm not sure what time is it, so maybe 10 minutes or so, I've completed 2 little studies. I've got my monochromatic and I've got my color study, and now I can move to my larger painting. I'm just going to put my studies someplace where I can look at them. I'm going to zoom you out in just a minute because this is a much larger piece of paper. Now this paper that I'm using today, I have no idea what it is. I don't think it's a very good piece of watercolor paper. It was just sort of kicking around my studio. You can see it's all wrinkly. And I don't care about that right now because I'm planning on using this for a journal cover. So I know that it's 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's not very heavy. I've given it a light spritzing, so I'll give it a little more. And I think that this wrinkling and buckling is actually going to add to the loose look of the painting. So, but we'll see. Fingers crossed it'll hold up. And if it doesn't, then I'll use a different piece of paper. So now I'm going to switch to a larger brush. I just want to make sure I've got this centered under the camera here. Maybe I need to just adjust this a little bit. Okay. All right. So instead of using the pencil this time, I'm going to use a very pale color. And I'm just kind of mixing everything that's on my palette together to get a kind of a I don't know. It's just a sort of a warm neutral with maybe a little bit of a reddish tinge to it. I'm going to go ahead and get my main flower on the page, and that's going to be over in this area. There's another one back here. We've got a cluster. And then these smaller ones kind of cascading down into this corner. Now I can start to add some of this middle, very light middle tone to my background, and I will revisit this. I'm actually going to switch to a larger brush because this is a, I think it's about 11 by 17. And I can see that this paper is doing something a little strange, and that's okay. I'm just going to roll with it. You know, I don't remember what I originally pulled this piece of paper out for. It could have been just a background for a photo shoot or something. It's probably been kicking around here for a while, and it may have some, it wasn't covered, so it may have some oil spots on it, so there may be a slight resist, but that's okay. I'm just going to play with it and see where it takes me. And I know the light's probably not very good on this right now, but when the painting is flat and dry, I will take another picture of it and you'll be able to see it better. But for now, I just want to give you an idea of what the method is and how to get started using these little sketches to do a larger painting. So I'm going to go ahead and begin adding some color to my flowers. Still using this big brush and plenty of water. And I'm just working very quickly all over the page. Mixing up a little more green. And then I want to get those little pink areas down in here. All right, so that is my first wash. I'm going to go ahead and get a slightly smaller brush and So I've got a couple of brushes here. I've got another squirrel mop. I think I'll use that first, and then I'll switch to my big sable. And my goal at this point is to increase my value, so my darker tones, and start to get my middle to dark areas established. And I'm still not getting hung up on so much on color or drawing. The main gist here now is to just get these values and big shapes established. So this is a really nice brush. I like the way this point is behaving. And I'm being careful not to go into the areas where my light is already established. Okay, so I'm done with those sections. I don't want the colors to be too flat while it's still wet. I want the colors to be able to move into and mingle with one another. So I can drop some other tones into these greens, make them a little more lively. And can add a little more yellow to some of these greens. Okay, so I'm just kind of having fun with it. And because this is a larger picture, I want to make sure that I take the time to step away from it so that I can see how it looks from a distance. If you don't have a lot of room where you're painting, then another trick that you can do is to just turn your picture upside down so that you can see it from a different perspective, and that will help to show you what you might need to do next. And I think you should start to see something happening now. It's still very abstract, and I'm going to keep it that way, but it should begin to say flower to you. Now when I do my journal cover, I will be folding this in half. So this will be, part of the image will be on the front of the cover, and this will be on the back. So front and back. And I want to make sure that I get a nice balance of color on both sides. So I'm gonna tuck a little pink flower over here, so I have that color on the front of the book as well. The back I'm not too concerned about. I just want to get a little added interest here. Of course the spine will be down the center along here somewhere. add some more leaves over here. I'm just going to make some kind of a design so that the back looks nice. And I can use the green to go around some of these flowers to help describe the shapes. All right, now that I've got my sort of overall pattern established, now what I want to do is switch to that sable brush. I think this one will work. So this is a very large sable, and it's my oldest brush. I've had this brush for many years. I'm talking like almost 50 years. And so I just want to point that out to you. When you see the prices of sable brushes, you may think, oh my goodness, it's not worth it, but they will last you a lifetime if you take care of them. And I'm going to use it to get into my darkest darks now. I'm just going to wrap this up. Okay, this was just meant to be a quick little session, so I'm not going to get too involved, and I'm certainly not going to get into details, but I want to get back to my values and making sure that I have these nice rich darks. And I have my little study here, so I can look at that. I can see where I have these dark areas established and use that as a guide. And as I do this, I can pay a little more attention to the actual drawing and the shape of the flower. And I'm just kind of dropping this in as I go. So dropping the color in, it's still, everything's still pretty damp, so the color's moving beautifully. And I don't want to go overboard. These are my darker tones, so I'm just kind of using them just where I need them, not overdo it. And thinking more about the negative shapes of the flowers. All right, now over here I'm winging it over here. I'm making this up because this is the back cover, so I'm just sort of, I want some sort of an attractive design just to add a little bit of interest to the back, but not take away from the front. And now I'm going into my red and my blue, and I'm mixing up a very strong blue violet and put a couple of touches of that. Up through here. Maybe a shape of a leaf. Just kind of indicate that. But it's not that I'm copying what I see. I'm taking inspiration from what I'm looking at, and then I'm using my composition idea with my values to make the design develop the way I want it to. All right, so there are my my lights, my mediums, and my darks. What I want to do is just pull these things together a little bit. I don't want it to look spotty, so I want to make sure that, for instance, all of this holds together. So I can just pull that together, and that's going to make for a much stronger design. I can go back into a couple of these flowers and just add a little extra color in the centers. Just sort of get some of this pink over here. And then at this point, you know, if you wanted to, because this is, as I said, it's meant to be decorative, it's meant to be the cover of a journal. If you wanted to add more texture, like spattering, if you wanted to add some gold paint, or oh, I don't know, heat embossing maybe, you could go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna leave it there. All right, and I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Once it's completely dry, I will go back in with a smaller brush and maybe put some finer details, or not. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just keep it like this. But I hope this gave you some ideas, and I hope that this will encourage you to try to paint a little bit larger, and to use, you know, some of the ideas that you've picked up on my Watercolor Wednesdays, and also in the Watercolor Card Club. And again, please either go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and you'll find the page that gives you more information about the Watercolor Card Club. And I've also posted that link here on my Facebook, and I will be posting it in the description below as soon as I'm done with the video. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are happy, well, and busy creating. I'd love to see what you do. Please join us on the Dandelion Paper Pal Facebook group and share your pictures so that we can all see them. And I will see you next on Saturday for Paper Crafting Saturday right here at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time.